Hello, everyone. I would like to have this wonderful chance and to thank the committee of the BIM Coordinators Summit for 2022, the organizers, Ralph and the team, of course, for letting us, giving us the chance to um, to meet together and gather and talk about all the BIM subjects that we are all interested in. My name is Omar Nour. I'm the BIM manager of Amana Contracting Group, and I'll be your host tonight for today's session. We're going to talk about BIM Evolution, a journey through the 10 dimensions. We're going to talk today about how effective is the BIM dimensions uh, for the BIM process, how they are affecting all the activities of the BIM of the project life cycle when it comes to BIM activities. So I believe let's start. So our agenda today will be an introduction, then small brief about BIM dimensions, then we will go through all the BIM dimensions and we have a conclusion at the end. So let's start with the introduction. So BIM, in my definition, is a holistic process of creating an intelligent model and managing information across several dimensions using a collaborative platform. So how can we achieve those several dimensions, and is each what is each dimension, what is the description of each one of them? That's what we are going to discuss today. So these are the BIM dimensions. As you can see, they are 10. Actually, 7 of them, from the first dimension to the 7th, they are very well known within the BIM community. But what has been introduced lately is the 3 remaining dimensions, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. So as you can see, the first dimension are the BIM documentation. The second dimension is the drawings or the sheets extracted from the 3D model. The third dimension is the 3D model itself, the BIM 3D model, of course. The fourth dimension is the element of time. The fifth dimension is the element of cost. The sixth dimension is the sustainability. The seventh dimension is the facility management. The eighth is the safety, health and safety. Ninth dimension is lean construction. And finally, the 10th dimension is the industrialized construction. So how do we achieve any of these BIM dimensions, or even all of them? How do we achieve them? Each BIM dimension of those that you can see here on the screen can be achieved by adding specific geometry or specific information that is already predefined to the 3D model. So as you can see here from the description, the 3D model is the core of those 10 dimensions. You have to add the information to the 3D model in order to achieve another dimension, whether it's the first, the second, or even from the fourth to the 10th. So, as we said earlier, the first dimension is the BIM documentation, or as we would like to call them, the BIM docs. So, what is the benefit of the BIM documentation? There has to be a clear understanding and a very clear agreement, of course, written and documented. This agreement should be documented between all the project stakeholders, between mainly the client or the project owner and the consultant and the main contractor, and also with all the related stakeholders like the authorities for approvals, of course, like the facility management operation company, like all the subconsultants, all the suppliers, all the subcontractors, all those stakeholders of the project should have a very clear understanding of the BIM scope and what is going to be the BIM activities through the project lifecycle. That's why this first dimension is very important to be stated from the beginning of the project. This, of course, on mutual agreement, it will be reflected in the BIM documentation, which is led by the most famous BIM document, the BIM execution plan. Some people, they call it the BIB or the BEP, the BIM execution plan, and master information delivery plan, etc., etc., all the appendices of the BIM execution plan that, of course, most of you are aware of. And by the way, the agreement of this on the BIM documentation is one of the small secrets of the success of the BIM journey of any project. So make sure that the BIM documentation is clearly understood and agreed within the project stakeholders. The second dimension is the drawings or the sheets. So how instead of using the 2D drawing or back to the 80s where we used to do them manually, or after the 80s when we started using the computer-aided design software like AutoCAD, for example, now we can extract directly the drawings or the project sheets directly from the model. These sheets could be conceptual drawings, final design drawings issued for construction, fabrication drawings, as-built drawings, any type of drawings that are used for the execution of the project can be extracted from the 3D model. Of course, this allows the industry professionals to extract those drawings without and to minimize the errors and the comments from the consultant. If you're, for example, the main contractor and you are producing shop drawings, this will minimize the faults in your drawings, which will optimize the cost and the time, and of course will give better quality. The third dimension, of course, is the BIM model itself. And as you can see, or as all of you know, there is a lot of advantages of using the 3D model. Of course, one of the most famous is the visualization of the project, especially if it's a complicated project that has a lot of details. It makes you better understand and visualize the project. Of course, it's much better for coordination between different disciplines, especially between architectural, structure, and MEP. Of course, it gives you the chance for better collaboration between all the project stakeholders. Of course, this collaboration will reach its best value if it's live collaboration on the cloud, for example. And of course, all of these advantages will lead to better optimization for cost and for time. The fourth dimension is the project sequencing. So basically, if we have our 3D model and add the element of time to it, which is the project schedule, for example, and the project activities, and import these data into the 3D model and assign each activity to the 3D object that is defining it, of course, we can have a 4D simulation. This simulation will allow the industry professionals to better understand the construction sequencing by integrating this BIM model with the project schedule, which will lead to better visualization of delay impacts, better collaboration with the stakeholders, and better coordination with the project site team. especially the project manager and the construction managers. The fifth dimension is the cost. So how do I do a cost analysis? If I grab my 3D model and add the fourth dimension, which is the element of time, I can add the cost of each of those elements as well. So instead of not only figuring out the delay impact, if I have such a delay in a project, I can also have a better understanding of the cost of this delay, or even the cost of the material used in the project itself. So this will allow the industry professionals to better estimate the cost of the project by assigning unit prices to designated objects in the BIM model. Of course, this will lead to better accuracy if I'm doing the cost estimation and the cost analysis of the project. It will give me the full control on the cost. It will give me better predictability of the cost variations. So, for example, if I have a variation in a material in the cost of one of the materials, I can assign this piece of information to the model and see what is the impact of this variation on the cost of the project as a whole. This, of course, will lead us to better and more accurately extract material and quantities by, of course, having the material takeoff, MTO, and or quantity takeoff, and also by extracting the BOQ or the bill of quantities. This can be directly extracted from the model as well. The sixth dimension, which is the sustainability. If I want to do an energy analysis, for example, how can I do that when I am having a 3D model? This can be done if like I said before, if we add certain information to the model that will help the program, the BIM software that I'm using, to give me the study that I want. If I'm doing energy modeling, for example, I will have to put some information uh, about the project location and orientation, about the material itself, what, for example, the U value of each material. This will give me a better understanding and will lead me to do some analysis, like daylight analysis, for example, to study the amount of lux going inside the building, so that am I achieving, this will be like one of the methods to check if I'm on the correct path in my design to achieve the client requirements. Because, for example, if the client is requiring a certain amount of lux, of sunlight lux, going inside the building, I have to make sure that I'm achieving those requirements. How can I do that? The only way to do this is by doing the daylight analysis, for example. So this example or this dimension, if it's achieved, will allow the industry professionals to better analyze the energy performance of a building by assigning a certain data to designated objects in the BIM model. This will lead to, of course, better estimate the building performance during design stage and even during construction, and of course, afterwards during operation. This will give you as well a better analysis of the impact of different solutions on financial and operational aspects during the entire project life cycle. And also, this will give you a better decision making in terms of building orientation, design, geometry, building materials, mechanical and electrical systems, etc. So this can be done even during design stage. You can make better decisions when it comes to the mechanical or the electrical system you're going to use in your project, because you will have the energy analysis and you'll see how is the building performance doing. Is it doing good enough, or it needs to be enhanced? The next dimension is the seventh dimension, which is the facility management, or some people call it the CAFM, computer aided facility management. Some software are dedicated to such dimension. And how do I do that? I simply add all the information that I want to assign to the model. So, for example, if I'm having some sort of equipment, and I can add the catalog of this equipment. I can add all the information related to this equipment that will help me in the facility management during the operation of the project. So how will this benefit me? Of course, it will allow me to better operate my project and to maintain the facility by, like I said, by assigning the required data to the BIM model. This will help me better archive my asset data. This will help me to better manage my assets. This will help me to better comply with the codes and the standards while construction. And finally, this will help me to better optimize the resources and maintain the costs during the operation of the project, of course. The eighth dimension is the safety. Safety, we're talking here mainly, of course, safety during construction, not safety during operation, or mostly safety during construction. So by having my 3D model and by having my 4D simulation, like we said, when we talked about the fourth dimension, the project manager along this at site, along with the construction managers and the HSE manager, the health, safety, and environmental manager, all those people will highly benefit from this simulation. How will they do that? Because they will have the capability to do crane studies, to do a live simulation of the vehicles, of the construction vehicles and construction equipment traffic inside the project while construction. Of course, this will help them to prevent risks and hazards of the workers in advance, even in advance. So they will be ahead of the problem, ahead of the hazards. They will see it before it happens, and they will be having the option to put some sort of protection or to put like a warning sign or something if it's a hazard area, for example. So how can we do that? We can add to the site model some construction parts like fencing, storage areas, scaffolding, machinery, signage, etc. We can add those items to the BIM model. We can add cranes to help us for the crane study. We can add the excavators, all the construction equipment, bobcats, all the construction equipments, and the paths for the traffic for such vehicles inside the project. This will better to enhance the understanding for the possible risks and hazards for the labor inside the project. This will better analyze the possibility of the worst case scenarios. This will help the workers during trainings if I'm giving them the safety inductions before the construction starts. This will help them to better understand the risks and the hazards inside the construction site. And of course, this will lead to less, or it will reduce the lost time injury, the LTI, and of course, it will help us reduce the frequency rate of this LTI. Our ninth dimension is lean construction. So, of course, lean construction is a very huge subject, and it might take us like hours to talk about. But let me brief it as follows. The main principle of lean construction, if you want to achieve lean in construction, you have to massively reduce the waste, whether it's a material waste from construction or time waste, which will help you, of course, in reducing the general cost of the project. So how can we do that? Simply by achieving the nine or the eight dimensions that we mentioned above. How will we do that? Of course, this allows our industry professionals to improve the productivity and reduce the impact of waste in construction by applying the virtual construction principles that we just mentioned earlier today, by digitizing all paperwork, by using a single source of information. So this will centralize the data using the common data environment platform that we are using in our project. This will help us reduce the time impact. Also, the better visualization of the project, the better coordination between disciplines, and the better collaboration between the stakeholders. And last, our 10th dimension, which is industrialized construction. So the world has been going lately to the trend of industrializing uh, uh, the project items or the project parts, or trying um, to go to the off-site option better than the on-site. Why is that? Because off-site construction has a lot of advantages, and also it has a huge favor for achieving lean construction as well. This is helping the industry professionals to increase the off-site construction activities by fabricating most of the project parts and by digitizing the whole process. How will this advantage us? How will this benefit us? This will benefit us in better productivity during construction. And of course, it will be much faster than on-site activity. This will help in reducing the quality and the waste, reducing injuries, LTIs, like we said in the eighth dimension, data centralization, of course, as well, and better compliance with codes and standards, and as well better optimization of project resources. So we have came to an end of the illustration of the 10 dimensions. BIM dimensions have always been identified theoretically, as we have been talking right now. And we can all know them from the web. If you go search the BIM 10 dimensions, you can get all the information that you want. But implementing them in real life is a totally different story. Be sure that real life implementation is very different from theoretical understanding of any subject. So to better understand your project, you need to achieve further dimensions in your BIM model. So if you are just achieving the first, the second, and the third dimensions, I strongly recommend that you try more dimensions. You try achieving the fourth dimension in collaboration with the planning department, for example. Get the planning schedule, the project schedule with the BIM activities from Primavera, for example, and link them to your BIM model and try to do some sequencing and some 4D simulation. You will see how will this positively impact the process and how this will leverage the construction, for example. Same for the fifth dimension, for the cost. It ends until the 10th dimension. This will enhance the coordination process as much as possible, and it will reduce waste, time, and the general cost. I would like to end my session for today by saying this quote, that computer software will never replace human intelligence, but it's important to recognize that the two must evolve together. Thank you so much. I'm really keen and interested and thrilled to hear your questions. I'll be excited to hear them right now. Thank you so much.